Hari Om. Chapter 18, Bhagwan has said that there are 4 kinds of Varna. Varna literally means color, which divides people. 4 kinds of Varna divides people means what? Okay. So, there is the Brahmana Varna, which is the sattvic quality of mind, where there is a sense of quiet and santushti and acceptance, and a desire for questioning, for philosophy, for teaching. A people of such a temperament will be called people of the Brahmana Varna. Varna was wrongly translated into English as class. It does not mean class. It means Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudra type of temperament. The temperament which is best suited for different kinds of work. So if you put some of us into hardcore business, we will not be successful. Not only unsuccessful, we will be unhappy. The same applies to someone of a Kshatriya Dharma, someone who is out to make a contribution to society, like the politicians and the activists and the social workers, the warriors and soldiers, who have a temperament for fighting for good and fighting against evil. So there is a temperament, and they have that energy and vitality, like Arjun. Arjun clearly belongs to the Kshatriya temperament. And therefore, Arjun cannot sit there and say, okay Krishna, I want to be out of all trouble, so why don't I just meditate? Why don't I just get into sannyas? Krishna says, no, not so easy. Hold it. You have to first understand the nature and the quality of your own varna, the color of your temperament. And each one of us, because of our past practices of so many millions of lives, whatever we have chosen to practice, we are born with a certain temperament already. Of course, when we have a choice now to work towards changing our quality of antahakaran, man and buddhi, we have a choice. But having come already here with a baggage of sanskar, which we call vasanas, which are our past impressions, we are already impelled towards certain kinds of work. So some people take to let's say teaching or philosophy most easily, or meditation most easily. So ask a business person or ask Arjun, all right, sit down here Arjun and meditate. In the middle of the battle, he is facing the Kauravas, and then he says, I'm going to meditate, or run away from the battle, both of which do not suit his temperament. In the same way, Bhagwan is saying, why don't you all recognize your own temperament, your own varna, and work according to that? Because when we are naturally drawn towards certain kinds of work, so it could be art, it could be music, it could be philosophy, literature, social activism, some kinds of becoming a lawyer or a business person, an entrepreneur, or just being in the service class, just following orders. It depends on our temperament. What is the advantage? Bhagwan has already said so far in the 18th chapter that the benefit is that work that you are most suited to because of your temperament. So you can't have a very, very rajasic person, very ambitious, very restless, very impatient, very irritable person who is going to maybe create poetry or great philosophy or great literature. It becomes very difficult because of the nature. So the work that we are naturally drawn to is the work that in which we will be the most happy, contented, because it's after our heart and it is according to our nature. And once we are happy in it, we revel in it. Because we revel in it and we feel fulfilled in it, we are contented, we evolve. We evolve in the sense we find shanti, we find fulfillment, we find great peace. So finding peace is the ultimate goal of every human being actually. So when we find that quietness, that peace, and the quality of work of course will be of a very high quality. It's because we are doing something we love. So when we love something, we naturally do it to perfection or to the best of our ability. So we bring excellence to the work, which outside people can see. but we also bring a quality of excellence in our antahkaran. That quietness, that silence, and when we are happy and joyous is when we are the least conflicted with ourselves or with the rest of the world. So there is no conflict, and therefore Bhagavan says that is the mark of you evolving. You can evolve only when you choose work which is in congruence with your true temperament. And that joy and peace that you find is what we are all looking for. So some people find it through meditation, through bhakti, through literature, through serving the community, whatever it is. But that peace has to be found. Now, what about work that is forced upon me because of certain circumstances? There are family situations, and there are situations in the corporate or in society, and I'm forced to take on many responsibilities which are not true to my nature, which are distasteful to me, and I find it very hard to do. Work that I love, I can do with most ease. I don't have to put effort. It's effortless. That's the beauty. But work that I don't love, I have to put in a lot of effort, and I exhaust a lot of my vital energy. My vitality is exhausted in resisting it. कि अरे मुझे क्यों करना है? I don't want to do it. But sometimes family demands that you have to put up with a lot of circumstances. What happens in that quality of resistance and conflict? The mind which becomes conflicted is going to not evolve anyway. So what is the solution? I will never get always work that is in congruence with my nature, my true nature, my swabhav, my guna, sattvic, rajasic or tamasic. To match the right guna to the right job is as hard as matching your swabhav to the life partner, to the right life partner. That is what one of the Swamis used to say. It's as hard as finding a right life partner, as hard as the right guna, your kind of guna, finding the right kind of work. So many times you have to do things which are not in congruence. What happens then? Then I'm going to be conflicted? No, that will devolve me. I will not evolve spiritually. So in that case, Bhagavan says, oh, simple. Why don't you just devote that work to me? As if I'm doing it for boss. So in the office, you have to do many things like lead a team or go out onto the field, and there are so many kinds of field work, and I have to do creative work. Maybe I don't have a creative streak. I have to struggle with a team. Maybe I'm a very individual worker. I have to do it because the boss has asked me. And the moment the boss says, well done, then I say, okay, boss, I'll do it for you. Krishna says, I am the boss of this sansar. Work that you don't love and even work that you love, just do it for me. Just usko arpan kar do, which means what? It's a kind of worship. Make work your worship. So whatever work that falls my way, it becomes my way of offering a worship. So every action should be a worshipful one, or every action should be worship. But we do the opposite in the world. What do? We create worship, rituals and worship and archana and puja and yajna and tapa into actions. And then we say that, oh, my worship is all these actions. No, worship cannot be translated into actions, outward actions. But yes, all my actions in sansar, as a grihastha or as a sansari or as a brahmachari or whatever my role, I can offer it to God, and that becomes the worship, a true definition of worship. So Bhagavan has already said that this kind of sarva karmana tamabhyarcha. Abhyarcha means worship. Make your work worshipful. Having understood this, work doesn't become a burden. Work doesn't become a way in which I gather more and more karma. Karma is gathered when I resist it, when I react to things, when I lose my temper, when I start adding raga or dvesha. I love this, I hate that, likes and dislikes. All likes and dislikes are going to cling to me in my future lives, and then I have to relive them and rehearse them over and reenact them over and over again. That is the definition of bondage, that I will be destined to reenact everything that I am practicing today. So why not just drop the likes and dislikes, raga and dvesha, reactions and resistance, and say, okay, whatever needs to be done, needs to be done. Anyway, from this earth, I'm not going to take anything back with me. Neither the relationships, nor the objects that I gather, the amount of effort I put into all the objects. So might as well do it as a duty and leave it there. That becomes your abhyarcha, your worship to me, Krishna has said so far. But he says the big advantage of this, in the 47th verse, he said, the advantage is that you will not collect kilbisham, which means no karma will be collected by you, because you are doing it and just offering it. Krishna arpanamastu. Krishna ko arpan. जो भी मैंने किया अपना बेस्ट किया, and I am not attaching it as मैं करता हूँ, इसका फल मुझे चाहिए और उसका भोक्ता मैं ही होऊंगा. न करता, न भोक्ता, न ego, but the work is done to perfection. So you see, the beauty of Gita and the extraordinary message of Gita is that you are not running away from the world in order to practice spirituality. But yes, you are learning the spiritual truth and coming right back, making a come back into the sansara with a new mind. How are you making a comeback into this sansar? With a new mind. A mind that understands that the highest truth, that look, I am not the karta or the bhokta, there is another power behind me, and that power, that consciousness is what powers everything. I am just an inert piece of matter. So why am I attaching to this mind, body, intellect, the inert piece of matter? Why am I attaching an additional phantom? Phantom means ghost, a ghostly, non-existent entity called ego. Ego has no location. At least the body we can see physically, it has a location. And consciousness we know exists because yeah, I'm coming to the next verse. Okay, so now Bhagavan says the technique of meditation. If you are in a state of mind where you have dropped the ego, why? Because he has taken very simple steps to say you have to become Buddhaya Vishuddhaya, verse number 51. Buddhaya Vishuddhaya means that you have to have that state of mind which is contemplation of the higher truth. We learn the truth, come back into the sansar with a contemplative mind, which means in the 51st verse he said, Shabdadin Vishayan Tyaktva. त्याग कर दिया होता है तब, अब जब हम ट्रूथ को जानकर वापस संसार में अपना कर्तव्य या कर्म करने आते हैं, तो we have come back with having given up the distractions, which are what? Sound, sight, taste, touch, all the extrovertedness that we are racing towards. Why? Because joy hunting, happiness hunting has become a habit. So joy hunting and happiness hunting, when it becomes a habit, Bhagavan has already said, I'll give you some simple steps. Shabdadin Vishayans Tyaktva. Give up these extroverted distractions. And in the same verse, 51, he says, Dhritayatmanam. The mind will still run after these things because our mind is trained wrongly to chase happiness and joy. And that's why in the media, all that people are exhibiting, shameless exhibition. I've got joy out of this, a new car, a new visit, a new travel routine, a new travel destination. I'm only exhibiting shamelessly on media that this is what I have drawn happiness from. If you have drawn happiness, first of all, no need to exhibit. Secondly, it makes other people think that all these extraneous things, these relationships and travel and objects that we have acquired must be bringing true happiness to you. If they have brought happiness to you, then that must be the real source of happiness. First of all, that's the most misleading thing we do. Bhagavan says, Dhritayatmanam. Why don't you tell your mind shut up when it starts joy hunting in this manner, misled by society and bad conditioning? And Raga Dvesha Vyudasya. We have already talked a lot about Raga Dvesha. The moment you drop it, you become accepting of a lot of things. 52nd verse, he gave very simple steps again, and that's where we had stopped. 52nd, Vivikta Sevi, learn to revel in solitude. Now, solitude doesn't mean physically cutting off and becoming reclusive, because that will make us dysfunctional in society. No, it simply means that wherever we go, we carry a shield of silence. in our mind around us, that aura of silence, which means nothing outside can disturb me. The moment we go out, we are in contact with people and objects and situations जो मेरे मन का हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी हो सकता है. That is beyond my control. So there is traffic and there are people and there is bad behavior, there is ingratitude. Oh, there are lots of things happening out there. But there are people who are acting out of their own deep insecurities and complexes and ignorance. How can I react to it? Am I here to change them? Certainly not. That's not the goal of one's existence. We are here to change ourselves. So that silence becomes my shield. Vivikta Sevi, this is my interpretation of reveling in solitude. That solitude becomes my property and I carry it in the midst of the greatest of crowds. That should be your armor, says Bhagwan in verse number 52. And Laghvashi, if we are very moderate and temperate in our indulgence, in our consumption of whatever we need to consume to live, so sight and sound and food and sleep and relationships, in everything Bhagwan says, exercise Laghvashi. Laghvashi literally means eat frugally, but here it means exercise temperance and moderation in everything. Dhyana yoga paraha. Do what in your free time? So in your free time, we are not hankering for this or that, but we can be quiet in contemplation and in reflection. Because in the scriptures, there's plenty of fodder, plenty of material which has already been downloaded upon us for us to reflect upon, for us to regurgitate in our free time, to reflect and contemplate. There's more than enough material we have. Now, Vairagyam Samupashritaha. Bhagwan has given 4 simple steps. Learn to revel in solitude, learn to get away from mundane, ordinary things, ordinary joys, let's say, and be temperate. And Vairagyam, last one. That means don't run away in Vairag. No, it means dispassion. Dispassionate, a kind of non-hankering over anything. So if I don't hanker for certain things and I become indifferent to it, those are the things that automatically drift away from my life. We saw the example yesterday. If I don't show any interest in wine bottles, the wine bottles after some time will stop coming home and the ones which I have will already march out of my cabinet. Somehow. They also become dispassionate to me. Wine bottles is an example that Chinmayaji used to give, but it applies to every relationship or person or idea or situation or object in which I don't show interest anymore, and that automatically drifts away from my life. So Bhagwan says, why don't you let all these non-essential things just drift away from your life? The moment you show Vairagyam, dispassion, they will automatically march out of your house. So now Bhagwan has a few more tips to give. He says, not only this, if you want to reach that state of silence, that state of quietness, that state of peace and joy, in which something higher can descend upon you, because when the mind is cluttered and noisy, there is nothing of the higher that can descend upon it. So we cannot touch that highest truth, which of course is invisible. First of all, it is so abstract and invisible that we are having trouble because we are so used to using our senses all the time and using our mental logic. So as if the mind is big enough to grasp that infinite reality, as if my intellect is vast enough to grasp the infinitude of that highest truth. No, the mind and intellect and the body and the senses which we are used to using are not vast enough, and therefore we have to go beyond it in that quiet and silence. If we are not used to meditation, like Arjun is not, Arjun is of a Kshatriya temperament, and therefore we may be of a Vaishya temperament, which means I may want to have a startup or start a business or create wealth. If I am of a Vaishya or a Kshatriya temperament, then therefore I am Rajasic, and that meditation is going to be beyond my reach. Does it mean then I cannot reach the highest? Bhagwan says, no, you can. Because then in your ambitious and in your restlessness, seeking of the world, if you are work in such a way that you devote that work to me, and yet you are using up that vital energy which is powering you. Because Rajasic pravritti is a kind of lots of excessive energy which we have to use up in business or in professions or in making some difference in society, whatever work we take up. If we don't do it, it will carry on and on, become our baggage. So we have to exhaust the vasana, and at the same time, we have to keep that meditative state. While working, we can still be meditative, and then that inner climate, the inner climate changes, because I may not have a natural bent of mind for meditation, which I have to cultivate. Doesn't mean I will leave it. I have to cultivate 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and 15 till I can meditate for an hour, for a whole afternoon. That comes with practice. But if I'm not going to touch meditation at all, is truth going to be too far away from me? No. In my Rajasic state, I can still work as if I am in deep meditation. That means offering it to the Lord. Then what happens? The inner climate, the inner world, antahakaran, changes the colors. But what is in my antahakaran right now? Right now the antahakaran is lot of ahankar. That I have done this, I have achieved that, and I have this capacity, and I have this talent or these looks or whatever. So that ahankar does not go away, and Bhagavan says, where's the room for me? And because of the ahankar, you are bringing in kam and krodh. And the moment we are sitting down quietly listening to the scriptures, we say, no, I don't think I have ahankar. It must be yes, it becomes very small because we are listening to something higher, something bigger than us. Something much bigger than us is talking to us from the scriptures, through the scriptures, and therefore it becomes invisible, our ahankar. Yes, but it's hidden. Therefore, the more time we spend seeking the higher, the less the ahankar gets to express itself. But the moment we are interacting in the world and someone has said, oh no, you're wrong, this is not the way to do it, let someone say that to you, and then watch yourself, give yourself a third eye, they call it, to just see what's happening to your mind. Watch the thought. The moment we watch the thought that occurred to me was, how can he tell me what I should be doing? I'm going to justify myself. And then I drain my energy justifying my actions and being carried away from mood to mood, from emotion to emotion, hardly aware of the quality of my thought. Bhagavan says, if that's going to be the quality of your life, how can you ever reach the highest? Because you're just moving from mood to mood, emotion to emotion, and reaction to reaction. And when we are quiet, we say, no, I am without ahankar. No, Bhagavan, I don't have kam or krodh. Let the desire show itself let the krodh show itself when we are provoked. Under provocation only we will know whether there is krodh lying in us or whether we have command over it. And kam also, let some temptations come my way, then I will know whether kam or desire is within my command. I will not know. Bhagavan says, ahankar, kam and krodh, parigraha. These are things you have to give up. And what are the things to adopt? Solitude, temperance, moderation, and dispassion in the previous verse. Now, verse number 53, what are the things to give up? Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmamah shanto brahma bhuyaya kalpate. This ahankar, kam, krodh, parigraha, please give up, Arjun, because it's crowding your mind. It's not, and when you're crowding your mind with all that noise, you cannot hear me. You can hear me with your physical ears. हाँ, मेरे physical ears कुछ सुन रहे हैं. Like we have some background music going on somewhere, but I don't revel in it. I don't understand the nuances of it because it's just there somewhere in the background. हाँ, हम सुन तो रहे हैं. Physical eyes. Bhagavan says you cannot hear me, Arjun. Your mind is making too much noise with the ahankar, the kam, the krodh, and therefore ahankaram balam darpam. Darp, arrogance भी है उसमें साथ में. काम, क्रोध, परिग्रहम. इसको परिग्रह करो. This is your preliminary test, Arjun. And you keep saying, I want to, Krishna, you are my sakha, you are my guide, you are my mentor, and now I have to have the highest truth. Yes, Bhagavad Gita has also been in our hands for years together. And yet we say, I'm not making spiritual progress. Kya ho raha hai? We are stuck because we are stuck in ahankar, in darp, in kama and krodha. and then we say, मैं तो यही हूँ. If we are not able to give up these, then if we are not able to let go, then how much of the higher can we expect in life? So therefore Bhagavan says in verse number 54, some more guidance. He says, Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. कुछ और काम करो, एक दो चीजें और करो अर्जुन. You can become a जीवन मुक्तः. जीवन मुक्तः means जीते हुए ही मुक्त हो जाओ. किस चीज से मुक्ति चाहते हैं हम? From all karma, from all sukha, from all dukha. Sukha, no, we are chasing sukha thinking it's going to be permanent. But we never realize that behind every sukha there is a dukh waiting. How? Because that sukha is going to end, or is going to lose its luster, is going to lose its newness, everything. There are marriages, there are jobs, there are acquisitions, new cars, new jobs. Name anything on this planet that has given you the greatest of joy and tell me how long it has lasted. Not for long, because it's still there. Those things either have gone, and if they're still there, then that original luster is gone. So Bhagavan says, even while living you can be free, muktaha. Brahma bhuta prasannatma. If you just remember to be prasanna, less agitated, just prasanna, undisturbed through all the experiences, and once you learn to do that, become that prasanna person, then Bhagavan promises in the first line, na shochati na kankshati. You will have no sorrow. Shochati means shok. No sorrow, Bhagavan. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. He says, you will have no sorrow, because our sorrow comes from the mind saying all the time, I want this, I want that, मुझे ये नहीं मिला, वो नहीं मिला, and the getting this or that, उसका sorrow मुझे कभी नहीं होगा. मेरे मन का हो, मेरे मन का ना हो. It will make no difference, and therefore that mind will not know शोक, न शोचती, न कांक्षती. ये तो कई बार कह चुके हैं भगवान. Stand apart when you have a sense of desire for anything, because the moment my mind is hankering, akanksha, this is kankshati. Na kankshati means without desires. Stand apart from the disturbance of your own desires. It is your desires which you are letting well up and spring up from your mind into your senses and chasing out into the world, which is causing you your own disturbance and sorrow. So na kankshati na shochati. Why don't you become a person who is samah sarveshu bhuteshu? Become one principle. So if I don't have any great joys or no sorrows, and I'm not reacting to anything in the world, and my mind is not chasing this or that, and my mind is quiet, suppose, and there are no crazy thoughts chasing each other, then what is the quality of my antakaran? That Bhagavan is saying that when all the noise is quietened, there is still something there, left behind. And in that, you will find my presence. Whose presence? Krishna's presence. Because I am there. It's not as if the mind is empty, the thought is empty, and you're not doing anything, not indulging in desires and anger or reaction, or not trying to fulfill any desire. Doesn't mean that you have stopped. You become an automaton, and you become a vegetable. Society will tell you, you become very uninteresting, yaar. You become very boring, yaar. ठीक है, let society say that, because you will find the ultimate joy of reveling in the company of Krishna. That's what is the symbolism of the gopis, dancing in joy. Their heart is bursting, and that dance element which is there in much of our culture is the dance of reveling, and the whole spirit dancing in joy at finding Krishna within themselves. So it's not an outward leela कि मैं गरबा कर रही हूँ, मैं रास लीला खेल रही हूँ, I'm dressing up and adorning myself in jewelry and flowers and having fine food to eat. That's what it has descended to. That's what our celebrations have come down to. But they are not only that, they are a big symbol. They are the greatest symbol of the joy, the unmitigated joy we are to experience the moment we find our companion is Krishna. In his company, who cannot feel like dancing or singing or creating great poetry or simply singing like Mirabai or dancing like the gopis? So the song and dance of our culture, many people in the West or even in India with the influence of Western education do not really understand the deep symbolism. This is the same symbolism which is there in Sufi Islam. Sufism thrives on music and divine music, divine poetry, divine dance. How come? Because that is the ultimate celebration of the union between us, Jiva, and the Paramatma. Where is that union? That union is not when we go from place A to place B. It is right here. When we have quietened the mind, we have cleared all the baggage and the noise and the pandemonium is quietened. That's where he is waiting. How lovely it is. And therefore Rumi, I'm saying because he's one of the greatest Sufi poets, Sufism actually gives the allegory of lovers meeting each other. How lovely it is for them to find that lover waiting there in the meadows for them with the beautiful music on his lips. It is that joy, and of course 100-fold more than just meeting a physical lover. And therefore many people even in Islam, within Islam, many people have misunderstood the depth, the beauty and the joy in which Sufism or Bhakti in India as they call it, Bhakti is the same as Sufi movement. That is the seat of the joy. And Bhagavan says, Samah sarveshu bhuteshu. Find that highest principle which pervades all beings. Sarveshu bhuteshu. Sab mein, har. Sarva means all, bhuteshu beings. हर बीइंग में हूँ, मैं ही हूँ, I am there. Mad bhaktim labhate param, and that's how he obtains the highest devotion, obtains the highest me, my companionship. Krishna says, bhaktim labhate param. अब आपको परम जॉय जब मिल गया तो क्या आप अब छोटे छोटे जॉयस के पीछे भागेंगे? So when you know the ocean, do you want to go and splash yourself from the small puddles of water? No, it doesn't happen. But that devotion, that bhaktim, labhate param, which Bhagavan is promising, he is saying, I am there and you can meet me, and every drop of joy that you have sought from the world will then become so dwarfed in comparison to the infinite light of joy. Because you have not dropped the desires of the world, you have not dropped the joy hunting of the sansar, then how can you seek me? And therefore, the moment you find that silence and happiness, which is not momentary, which is complete, then you become tranquil. That tranquility is where I reside. I meaning Krishna. I reside in that tranquility, in that pool of silence, which is there in your heart, which is there everywhere. And therefore, when you discover this independent source of joy, why do you want to then look out? You will not even feel like looking out at people and relationships and objects and travel and wealth and fame and accolades, whatever. Vitteshna, Putreshna. This will make no difference. And Lokeshna, that is name and fame. Now, having detached yourself from the world, that detachment comes naturally. The detachment will just come upon you naturally. In that tranquility, you are released. Released meaning you're free from this preoccupation of sansar. This is what Bhagavan has already mentioned before. Bhagavan says, look, I'm only repeating it because this is the final message, the parting reminder of the 18th chapter, to say just a small reminder, a revision of all that I have said. In the 5th chapter, in the 20th verse, Bhagavan had said this. Sthira buddhira sammudho brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. You are something deeper than you think. That brahmavid, that highest principle is in you. Sthira buddhi sammudho brahmavid. You are that Brahma, brahmani sthitaha. That is the same thing which is said here. That sama sarveshu, sarva mein, bhuteshu mein, hu, har being mein, bhaktim labhate param. Okay, so it has been said in chapter 5, but did it make any difference in our lives? So we are trying through contemplation. But then Arjun must be thinking, Is there another next step, or is this how far I have to come? Bhagavan says, hold on, there are a few more steps you have to cover. Verse number 55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. By devotion to me. Devotion to me means what? Again I have to repeat, not ritualism, not mechanical offering of prayers and actions of worship. An action of worship is just a bodily action. It is knowing the highest truth in its essence, knowing Krishna consciousness in his essence. That's why he says, Yavan yaschasmi tatvatah, mera tattva, mera essence jo jaan leta hai. Having known that essence, then he becomes one with me. अगर हम जानेंगे ही नहीं कि वो तत्व है क्या, then I may have so many idols of Ganesha and Shiva and Vishnu and Parvati in my house. How much difference will it make in the quality of my spiritual evolution? That is childish, it's like collecting toys and symbols and not knowing what that symbol stands for. Like having a lot of flags all over my maybe flags of all the countries of the world, let's say. Plastered all over my wall, and I say I am a flag collector, but I don't have a global mindset. I don't see the globe as one Vasudeva Kutumbakam. I don't see the global vastness. I don't have a global mindset, but I have the flags of the rest of the world. It's like that. I have so many idols on my altar. Altar में देखो जो भी आता है, कोई गिफ्ट देता है, सब altar में images ही images हैं भगवान के. Is that going to be the quality of understanding Bhagwan? Bhagwan says, no, Yavanas. So he says, Yacha asmi tatvatah. My essence, if you know, then having known that, tato mam tatvato, again he uses the word essence, tato mam, wo jante hue, gyatva, uska gyan hote hue, vishate tadanantaram. At once you will become one with me. Such a seeker who knows my essence and is the one who knows who am I also, the nature of his self also. Who am I? Mama abhijanati. So here Krishna is not talking about when he says bhaktya mama abhijanati. That means abhijanati, he knows me, mama. That mama is not Krishna the individual. Of course not. Krishna the individual is a symbol. Krishna is the highest Krishna consciousness. That essence that we have to know. And that is Sat Chit Anand. It is the totality of existence, of consciousness and bliss. Is that Krishna or is that me? When we unite with him, in understanding him, we unite with him, then that is my quality also. Sat Chit Anand. अगर दुनिया से फुर्सत मिले तभी हम देख सकेंगे ना कि हमारा असली स्वरूप क्या है, सच्चित आनंद. So Bhagwan has said very clearly, yes, if you know me, tato mam tatvato. If you know my essence, you will know your own essence also. Bhagwan's promises are grand and very alluring in chapter 18. He goes on to say in verse number 56, what to do now? Again he comes to action. Because Arjun is a Kshatriya, remember, like most of us, very, very active in the world and wanting to know, okay, I understand the philosophy, Krishna. I understand your philosophy. Now tell me what to do. That's a common mindset. Maybe that's what in Arjun's mind. So Krishna very compassionately says, okay, I'll tell you what to do. Sarva karmananyapi sada kurvano madavyapashrayah matprasadadavapnoti shashvatam padamavyayam. Doing all your actions, because again he is restless, he wants to do something and wants to know what is the action to be done. Bhagavan says, do all that you are required to do as your duty and devote it to the Lord. Sada kurvano madavya ashrayah. Take refuge in me and just offer it to me. He has said it so many times. We are not able to do it. वी से ये कैसे हो सकता है, कितनी बार सुना है और कितनी तरीके से इसी ग्रंथ में, गीता में सुना हुआ है, लेकिन आई कांट डू इट. व्हाई? व्हाट इज इंटरफियरिंग? मैं अहम, मैं करता हूँ, ये मैंने अपने सामर्थ्य और शक्ति से, अपने टैलेंट से किया है. आई एम द कर्ता, आई एम द भोक्ता. आई, दैट एंटिटी आई, इज इंटरफियरिंग in my understanding that the work is not mine. It's the work being done through me. Nimitta matra bhava. Savyasachin, you are a nimitta matra. The work is being done through me. Now, when we say, the Bhagwan has used another word in this particular verse. He says, ashraya, take refuge in me, which means that this devotion which you are supposed to devote all your work to me, this devotion is not supposed to be a passive surrender, which many people understand कि अब क्या करना है, फिर भगवान ही सब करेंगे. It's a very common mind which speaks like that about the scriptures, you know. It's not passive surrender. Neither is it physical ritualism कि मैंने इतनी पूजा कर दी, मैंने 118 बार फला फला हवन कर दिया, मैंने इतने सारे तीर्थ कर दिए. All that is good for taming a wild senses, the wild mind. You're taming it. But in order to know the highest truth, devote your work to Bhagwan, have no attachment to it. So it's not passive surrender, it's not physical ritualism, but it is an identification. With what? With that higher intelligent process of detachment. Detachment is the only thing which will free us. I am attached to मेरा काम, मेरा जॉय, मैं करता हूँ, मैं भोगता हूँ, मेरा कर्तृत्व, भोक्तृत्व, and my aham, the I, is my only obstacle. उसको निकाल दो, there is detachment. तो मुझे डिटैच क्यों होना है? मुझे तो मजा आ रहा है संसार में. डिटैच होगे तभी फ्री होगे. मोक्ष मीनिंग free from life and the continuous cycle of life and death and the continuous cycle of the pain of jara mrityu, janma jara mrityu, uski vyatha, the over and over. How many times we know about moksha, but we are not ready to pay the price of detachment for that freedom. Is there any freedom that is attained without a price? We say that India attained freedom without bloodshed. No, history is misinterpreted. There was a lot of bloodshed of the common man, and that was shed, and we have earned our freedom at a price. And yet we say, नहीं मुझे मोक्ष मिल जाए बस, भगवान मैं आपकी अर्चना कर दूंगा, पूजा कर दूंगा. It's not physical ritualism. भगवान is not so childish to say कि अच्छा मैं खुश हो गया आपकी चापलूसी से, sycophancy. No, it doesn't work like that, because Bhagwan himself is, if we take Bhagwan as an entity, sometimes we are tempted, if we take Bhagwan as an entity, his hands are also tied by Prakriti. Prakriti means the inexorable law of nature, and the law of nature says, आप जैसा करेंगे वैसा भरेंगे. My actions are creating my swabhav, my guna, and my vasanas, and my destiny. That वो वाला प्रकृति का नियम हम कैसे तोड़ें? ना हम ना भगवान तोड़ सकते हैं. So we may take that highest principle as the one that will take us into action. But for detachment of that action, I have a choice. ठीक है, मैं इसको अपना नहीं मानता, मैंने आपको अर्पण कर दिया. This belongs to the boss, I give it up. वो detachment का choice तो है ना हमारे पास. So then, in conclusion, we might say, then the last 3 verses, Bhagwan has given a very simple structure. The structure is कि भैया आप ज्ञान योग भी करो, भक्ति योग भी करो, कर्म योग भी करो. कैसे? न शोचति न कांक्षति. आपको सौरों का नेचर समझ में आएगा अगर आप ज्ञान योग में अपने माइंड को, इंटेलेक्ट को डिसिप्लिन कर दोगे. ज्ञान योग इज नथिंग बट डिसिप्लिनिंग द माइंड एंड इंटेलेक्ट. हाउ? सिंपल. श्रवणम मननम नित्यध्यासनम. Shravanam, Mananam is contemplation and listening to the scriptures. Now, he has also said, Bhagwan is wrapping up, remember he is wrapping up the very essence of the Gita. That's why he has said in the very next verse, Bhaktya Mama Bhijanati. That means, आप discipline करो भक्ति से अपने इमोशंस में इधर उधर भाग रहे हैं. I like this, I like that, I like this person, I don't like that person, or the situation, or the objects. वो आपके मन के जो इमोशंस इधर उधर भाग रहे हैं उसको भी नियंत्रण में लाने के लिए, टू टेम इट, भक्ति इज द मामा, भक्त्या मामा. भगवान इज सेड आप भक्ति करो. सो डिसिप्लिन ऑफ द इंटेलेक्ट through Shravanam and listening and contemplation constantly. Disciplining of the emotions through channelizing the emotions to say, Bhagwan, this is yours, I give it up, I don't want to be attached to it, don't chase me with the reward. Imagine for the first time we'll be saying, I don't want the reward of this or that. Bhagwan, I am giving it up to you. Krishnarpanamastu. Now it's up to you. I have to just complete my task. So then the emotions are in control. So ये हुआ भक्ति योग. कर्म योग भी उन्होंने तुरंत यही बता दिया है 56th वर्स में. एंड ही इज सेइंग सर्व कर्माण्यपि सदा कुर्वाणो मदव्यपाश्रयः. मेरे मुझ में शरण लेते हुए सर्व कर्माण्यपि, सब कुछ मुझे सदा हमेशा के लिए कुर्वाणो काम करते हुए अर्पण कर दो. ये कर्म योग से क्या होगा? इट विल डिसिप्लिन माई बॉडी, बिकॉज माई सेंसेस एंड माई बॉडी आर सेइंग दैट आई एम परफॉर्मिंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स एंड देयरफॉर I must have the reward. So discipline of the body, karma yoga, discipline of the senses, karma yoga, discipline of the mind and emotions, bhakti yoga, disciplining of the understanding, that is intellect, कि ये higher truth है क्या, सत्य क्या है, असत्य क्या है. Disciplining and refining the intellect is Gyan Yoga. Bhagwan says, right from verses 54, 55 and 56, he has talked about Gyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga. In all the three, there is one common element. The common element is that I feeling is gone. That layer of I is gone. It's become quiet. Because in Gyan Yoga, I want to seek the higher. So where is the high? I. I'm not seeking me. I'm seeking the higher. I is gone. In Bhakti Yoga, I already know there's a higher entity and he governs everything. He or she. That principle governs everything. So where is the I? The I is quietened in Bhakti Yoga. Mostly. And in Karma Yoga, if I offer my actions to God and still continue working very hard, very efficiently, then Karma Yoga also the I-ness can go away. The whole thing is, I is the interfering factor. मैं, aham, मेरा. Madhavyapashraya. Take refuge in me, Bhagwan says in the 56th verse. In this verse, 56. Thus, what will happen? Mat prasadat vapnoti. अच्छा, आप मेरे में refuge लेंगे, तो you will obtain my grace. Mat prasadat avapnoti. My grace. Now, what does grace mean? So, in the common mind, the thought arises that if I please God through my ritualism, through my pujas and my archanas and my sandhya vandanas, whatever, if I please God and He is some kind of entity or physical entity who will be pleased with me, then His grace will fall upon me. It probably doesn't happen like that, because there is, as we said over and over, there is a law governing everything. Just like there's a law governing all the physics or the physical elements of this world. A mango seed does not one fine day decide that I want to be a plum tree. There is a law governing nature. There is a law governing our karmas. There is a law governing gravity. There is a law governing seasons. There is a law governing our vasanas and sanskar. It's the same law. Physical laws are proved by physical empirical sciences, and the other sciences and spirituality has proved the laws of karma. So Bhagwan says in 57th verse, Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhi yogam upashritya matchitah satatam bhava. All you have to do is matchitah satatam. Matchit. Chit mat mujhme laga do. Chetasa sarva karmani. Be steadfast in me, in all your actions. Buddhi Yoga is a beautiful new word he has used here. Buddhi Yoga. We have heard of Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyan Yoga. Bhagavan has suddenly used the word Buddhi Yoga in this chapter. Here it simply means that what does the word Buddhi mean? What do we use the Buddhi for? We use the Buddhi, the intellect, only to discern, only to discriminate between Sat and Asat, to hear the logic. What are the inferences? वो logic चाहता है intellect. सत क्या है, असत क्या है, what is permanent, what is impermanent, वो उस पर dwell करता है. The mind doesn't have the capacity to do this. सत असत के बीच में जो विवेक है ना, वो mind नहीं कर सकता. Mind meaning emotions. हमारे इमोशंस इधर उधर घूमते रहते हैं. हमारे इमोशन कहते हैं कि अरे ये रिलेशनशिप, ये मैरिज, ये सुख, ये बच्चा, ये पुत्र, ये पौत्र, ये सत्य है. इमोशंस विल से ये सत्य है. इसका मतलब माइंड इज नॉट केपेबल ऑफ discernment, discrimination. Buddhi is the only one. My senses are certainly not capable of discerning Sat and Asat. My body is certainly not capable of discerning Sat and Asat. The only thing that can discern Sat kya hai, permanent kya hai, Asat kya hai, is the Buddhi. Bhagavan says, take refuge in Buddhi Yoga na. Buddhi to use karo. That means, mat chittaha, mujhe ek background mein rakho. And Krishna is warning Arjun once again that look, religion or spirituality is not about running away from the world and saying I'm going to go and meditate. No, it is going with your intellect, completely in your senses, understanding the highest truth and coming back, making a comeback in the sansar with the understanding of nitya anitya. अरे परमानेंट क्या है, इम्परमानेंट क्या है, और नित्य क्या है, अनित्य क्या है, मैं इस अनित्य में क्यों पड़ा हुआ हूँ, वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग के साथ मैं वापस दुनिया में जी सकता हूँ. वापस यानी आफ्टर रीडिंग द स्क्रिप्चर्स और लेट्स से आफ्टर अंडरस्टैंडिंग गॉड. मत चित्त सततम, फिक्स योर माइंड ऑन मी. दिस इज हाउ भगवान इज सेइंग, फिक्स योर माइंड ऑन मी, फिक्स योर हार्ट ऑन मी. नाउ माय माइंड एंड माय हार्ट इज यूज्ड टू थिंकिंग दैट आई एम टाइड टू द संसार. मैं तो इस संसार से बंधा हूँ, मैं इनको छोड़ के कैसे जा सकता हूँ, इनकी रोटियां मैं नहीं सेक के दूंगी तो मैं अपने स्वामी के प्रवचन सुनने कैसे जा सकती हूँ. मेरे अटैचमेंट बहुत है. देयर आर सो मेनी अटैचमेंट्स एंड आई थिंक आई एम टाइड, क्योंकि मेरा सुख मेरा लगता है. इफ द बॉडी इज हर्ट आई फील कि नॉट द बॉडी बट आई एम हर्ट. अगर किसी ने मेरा अपमान कर दिया तो मुझे लगता है मेरा अपमान हुआ है, क्योंकि माई आइडेंटिफिकेशन इज विद दिस बॉडी and this mind and this personality. But this is a false personality. ये तो कितनी बार कहा है. Personality false इसलिए है कि it doesn't stand the test of time. It changes first of all from time to time. It changes from relationship to relationship, and it changes, not changes, it's completely obliterated in death. So how can it be real? This personality, this persona, this mask that we are carrying is actually false. And then we say, नहीं, मेरा अपमान हो गया, my identification. So the story of the donkey and the washerman is the one we have heard so many times, where the washerman one fine day went to the ghat and suddenly realized, oh, I have to go and wash the clothes, but I have forgotten to bring the rope to tie the donkey to the staff. Now, if he runs away and I'm busy washing clothes, I'm in big trouble and I forgot to bring the rope. So, if I don't tie him, what do? My day is gone. There was a wise man passing by and he says, oh, I understand your dilemma. Why don't you do one thing? You pretend every day you've been coming here and tying the rope around the neck of the donkey and then taking the end of the rope and tying it to a staff nearby, a pole, staff. So, the washerman said yes. He said, do one thing, just pretend you are doing that. So, pretend you are tying a rope around the donkey's neck and then take the lead or the end of the rope and pretend to be tying it to the staff, and the donkey will sit down. And sure enough, the donkey sat down and he did not budge from there. Can you believe it? And the washerman happily completed the day's work and he brought back the washing and he loaded the donkey, and guess what happened? The donkey refused to budge. He refused to stand up. Why do you think? Because the washerman of course did not understand. Why is this donkey not moving? He is free. He is not tied. But the donkey did not realize that. He thought I am still tied. मुझे लगता है मैं बंधे हुए हूँ संसार से, मुझे सब कुछ अपना लगता है, अपमान भी और मान भी और सक्सेस भी और फेलियर भी और लोग भी और भाई भी और बंधु भी मुझे लगता है मेरे हैं. They are mine because that's how I've been trained. And Bhagwan is saying, look, you are free. The washerman is saying, get up, you're free. मैं भगवान का सुन ही नहीं रहा हूँ. कृष्ण बोले जा रहे हैं, you are actually free. Actually, हम कहते नहीं, मेरा सुख, मेरा दुख मुझे सच्ची में अपना दुख लगता है. भगवान आप क्या जानो दुखी होना क्या. मुझे बहुत दुख महसूस होता है, अपना लगने लगता है. I feel I'm tied to it because I'm identifying with that body. My bondage is real. Now the wise man comes around and says, "Arey, the donkey will not get up because he imagines he is still tied. He will not come out of it." जैसे हम नहीं निकलते हैं. What do? अच्छा, now you pretend again that you are untying the rope from the staff and then untying it from around his neck and lead him happily home. And that's what the washerman did. How can we handle the sansar like this? Without being lipped, without being tied, without being attached, can we handle the sansar like this? Is what Bhagwan is asking. He says, this comes with practice. What has been the practice of the donkey? That every morning I come and like clockwork, my neck is, the rope is taken around my neck and I am tied to the post. And I sit by the post. Again and again and again. For years together, my mind is conditioned to the fact that I am attached to my family and my success and my failures and my finances and my highs and my lows and my man and apman and sukha and dukha. They are mine and the objects I have obtained are mine. मेरा नाम, मेरी प्रतिष्ठा, मेरा कुल, मेरा ये सब मेरा है. Is my conditioning. सालों से नहीं, जन्मों से मुझे ये कंडीशनिंग है. अब वो कंडीशनिंग ऑफ द डोंकी कैसे निकाली जाए? तो भगवान हैज सेड, उसकी ऑपोजिट कंडीशनिंग करो ना. कि उसको ही प्रिटेंडेड टू अनटाई द रोप फ्रॉम अराउंड हिज नेक. उसकी ऑपोजिट कंडीशनिंग कर दी. एंड ही थॉट आई एम फ्री. अच्छा, आई एम फ्री नाउ. एंड ही न्यू ही इज फ्री, बट ही वाज ऑलवेज फ्री. पूरे दिन वो फ्री था. तो एक दिन उस डोंकी का हम समझ सकते हैं एक जन्म अपना. सपोज एक जन्म हम एक्चुअली फ्री हैं, लेकिन बैठे हुए हैं बाय द स्टाफ संसार के पास कि मुझे ये सब, मुझे वैराग मुझे नहीं समझ में आता. बिकॉज यू नो आई एम टाइड टू दिस स्टाफ. आई हैव सो मेनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज एंड ड्यूटीज. और कोई कुछ भी कह दे तो उसमें मेरा मान, मेरा अपमान हो जाता है. आई एम टाइड टू द स्टाफ थिंकिंग वो मेरा संसार है, मेरा एक जन्म है. भगवान हैज सेड ऑलरेडी कि जैसे अभ्यास कर लिया है ना कंडीशनिंग, वैसे ही डिकंडीशनिंग भी हो सकती है. By telling yourself you are free, because Bhagwan has explained how. You are not your gunas of sattva, rajas, tamas. You are not this body which is always changing. The gunas are also always changing. The mind and the intellect are always changing and completely obliterated. इसमें क्या सत्ता है? सत्यता है ही नहीं. There is no truth in all this. ये बार बार जो भगवान अभ्यास करा रहे हैं हमको, उसका अभ्यास हम नहीं कर रहे हैं डिकंडीशनिंग के लिए. तो डिकंडीशनिंग के लिए 6th chapter में भगवान had already said how to transform the life. He had said very clearly in the 6th chapter, abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. There are two things which will free you: abhyas, constant practice of deconditioning your mind, and vairagya. I think even vairagya is not needed as a practice. The moment you practice कि मैं ये हूँ ही नहीं, ये तो this is all मिथ्या, वो अपने आप डिटैचमेंट आ जाता है. बिकॉज देन आई हैव नथिंग टू अटैच टू. डिटैचमेंट और वैराग्य ऑलरेडी फॉलोज. तो अभ्यास का मैं किस चीज का करूं? मैं अपने मन को याद दिलाता रहूं. हर मान में, हर अपमान में, हर सक्सेस में, हर फेलियर में, हर फाइनेंशियल लॉस में, हर गेन में, हर सुख में, हर दुख में याद दिलाता रहूं कि ये तो मिथ्या है. देयर इज अ भगवान विथ मी एंड आई हैव टू बी यूनाइटेड विथ हिम. I am united, but I don't know the union. And all this is mithya and it's passing. And all this will pass. And when I remind myself all the time, that becomes my mental unconditioning. It's like the donkey sitting there and some wise man comes and tells him, donkey, practice in your mind, I am free, I am free, I am free. Din bhar bolo to jara. And the donkey says, no, I think you are a fool. I know there is a rope around me, and I know it's tied to so I will not listen. So the donkey will not listen to the wise man, because his conditioning and his conviction in his bondage is so strong. Our conviction in our bondage and our identification with this body is so close, and this mind and the intellect is so close, that we refuse to believe. No matter how many scriptures we hear, no matter how many years we are listening to the scriptures, we will say, जी नहीं, सुख और दुख तो मुझे लगता है ना, देखो मुझे कितनी बड़ी बीमारी हो गई, देखो मैंने इतना काम किया उन लोगों के लिए, उन्होंने मुझे कैसा जवाब दिया, ये सब मेरे सुख हैं, ये सब मेरे दुख हैं, और मैं अपने सुख और दुख की एक लिटनी जमा करके, लिटनी मीन्स लॉन्ग लिस्ट ऑफ थिंग्स ऑफ आवर सुख एंड दुख, वी कीप रिपीटिंग. कोई सुनने वाला मिल जाए तो बहुत अच्छा है, अदरवाइज वी कीप रिपीटिंग a long list of sukha and dukha to ourselves. But this sukha and the dukha belong to the prakriti, to the inert, to the world of matter, the body, mind and intellect. वो वाइज मैन बोले जा रहा है, कृष्ण स्वयं भी आके बोलने लगे तो भी हम कहेंगे मुझे अपना सुख महसूस होता है. इट मीन्स देयर इज अ रोप अराउंड माई नेक. तो द डोंकी, वो जो बैठा हुआ है, उसको बोला जाए यू आर फ्री, कैन वी सिट क्वाइटली एंड टेल आवरसेल्व्स वी आर फ्री, वो अभ्यास होगा. दैट विल बी अ काइंड ऑफ अभ्यास. एंड इन द 5th chapter भगवान हैड सेड, लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्र मिवाम्भसा. पद्मपत्र की तरह आप जियो ना, जिसमें सब कुछ संसार का ड्रॉपलेट्स ऑफ वाटर आते हैं, बट दे स्लाइड ऑफ द सर्फेस ऑफ द पद्मपत्र, द लोटस लीफ. द लोटस लीफ डज नॉट नो हाउ टू एब्सॉर्ब all the कीचड़ or the water. It just says, let it all slide off my back. भगवान said, पद्मपत्र मेवाम्भसा, मेवाम्भसा, वैसे रहो ना, लिप्यते, without attachment. So now the mind needs a training. It means that mat chitta. That's why Bhagwan here has used the word chitta. It is your intellect, your mind. Let's not confuse the two. The intellect, let's say your chitta, that needs training. Which means what? But I am working physically in the world. So physically in the world, train your physical self to say that, okay, my needs are important. I am working in this world to satisfy my own needs, but the needs of all the people are equally important around me. That becomes a abhyasa at the physical level. At the mind level, I say I will connect to a satsang with reverence. Reverence is a quality of emotion. If I connect to any satsang and say that, oh, I don't believe this, it sounds like a lot of impractical stuff, then we have already dismissed it. Bhagavan says, you at the mind level, you can, with reverence, if you sit and listen with reverence, then you are practicing abhyasa at the mind level. And at the intellect level, study more and reflect upon it, reflect more upon it. Who am I? What is the highest truth? What is existence? What is matter? Matter is this body, mind, intellect only. And it has no entity of its own. And ultimately, we are all matter. If we think we are that, only pieces of matter, then this life has no grand meaning, no higher meaning. Then it just becomes like जीव जंतु, कि जीव जंतुओं की तरह आए और जीव जंतुओं की तरह जिए और जीव जंतुओं की तरह निकल गए. It has no higher purpose or meaning. That intellect का अभ्यास ये होता है कि no, I want to know that higher consciousness which pervades everything, and is that my reality? Is that my swarup? If this path looks very tough, then I refuse to uncondition myself. I refuse to sit like the donkey. मैं donkey को बोला गया है कि तुम free हो भाई, and I refuse to decondition my mind क्योंकि it's tough to decondition. Then Bhagwan says, oh, all right. Then there are some repercussions, some consequences which will definitely be facing you, and those are, that's in verse number 58. Machchita sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi atha chetvam ahankaran न श्रोष्यसि विनश्यसि vinangsyasi. If you refuse, if you find this path very difficult, you will not be able to even hear what I am saying. Na shroshyasi vinangsyasi. You will destroy yourself. Strong words from Krishna, but we'll see that next time from verse number 58. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। 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 ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पूर्णस्य पूर्ण